Well, Brian, lovely to catch up with you. It's been a while and you've had a tough old time. I know you've been flat out. What are conditions like at the moment?
Yeah, g'day Mark. Good to catch up. Yeah, you're right. I guess coming out of the winter, we had a fairly long and wet winter, and left us probably just a bit behind on work. Ground conditions are too wet, too much, and so a bit of pressure getting caught up through the spring, finishing off the likes of our lambs, getting paddocks worked. To our view, it's pretty dangerous to go work in the ground when it's too wet. You can do quite a bit of damage to your soil structure. So um, we waited for the conditions to dry out a wee bit and try and get things in good order. So it puts a bit of pressure on the timing. And actually, not that we're desperate, but ironically, we haven't had a lot of rain since that winter, and things have dried out a bit now. Certainly not desperate, but irrigators are going and things now, trying to just keep crops moving and going. So
Has that sort of held things up? I mean, can you sort of put a timeline on it? Does it mean if you plant 2 or 3 weeks later, then obviously everything goes back 2 or 3 weeks at the other end?
yeah, it can do it, but I guess the summer will be the dictator. If we go into a hot spell at some stage, what it does is it can put a bit of pressure on timings for managing crops. They can, if it comes hot, they can be pushed through their growth stages quite quickly. So it by no means at this stage means a late harvest, because the next 2 or 3 months could change that. But it can put a bit of pressure on keeping irrigators up to the growth stage speed if that happens, keeping our fungicide timings right, and just keeping the crops good and clean if it comes hot. At the moment, we are probably still a bit cold for the time of year, and the crops are a bit slow going. Actually, I just came in and been out around our crops with our agronomist, and yeah, a couple of them just looking a wee bit on the thin side, perhaps missing one tiller, and the wheat crops, and just a wee bit slow going. So you talked before that Christchurch and Canterbury is supposed to be warm today. We'd welcome that.
What about the plantings? What's the sort of state of play? What's gone in? I know there was an issue with bread making flour, for example. There was a desire for more of that, but has that happened?
I think area might be up just a little bit on the plantings on that. I haven't seen any research results on that just yet. There's some due. Amy, I think, should be doing some more in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. Uptake, I think, has been pretty good for people putting in. Now, whether they've contracted it or not, or kept it on the free, but cereal area, we think, is up a wee bit again to where it probably recovering a wee bit of ground that it lost last year, particularly on the milling, which is really promising and looking good. Those international trends on pricing have driven prices up a wee bit, and that's certainly been attractive to growers. We're looking at considerably increased growing costs, and so to see a lift in the value of the product was a definite needed scenario. But I think with that happening, growers have got a bit of confidence and have planted more. That'll all be in now in the Canterbury area. I believe areas up in the North Island on the East Coast have been quite wet and struggling to get much tractor work done. Hopefully it's dried out a wee bit for those guys now and they're getting a bit of crop in, but some of that's probably running late.
So, Brian, what's the mood at the moment with growers? Sort of just getting head down and getting on with it?
A lot of growers have had a bit of a tough time. I guess last harvest, as we know, was a wet summer and harvest was pretty poor. And the cash flow implication of that is probably biting a wee bit now. Prices for inputs had started going up last year, and so for the crop establishment we're doing now is at those higher values, and on the back of last year's poorer harvest. So I think that's probably just got the mood a little bit sedate around economics at the moment, but the outlook I think is a wee bit more positive, and so hopefully if we can go into a reasonably good harvest, farmers will be on the up and feeling comfortable again. Interestingly enough, the increased prices, farm securities probably just becoming a wee bit of an issue in our area at the moment. Fuel theft is quite common to hear about. Diesel, particularly taken out of irrigators. So irrigators have got diesel generators that are out in paddocks and very hard to keep a security system, keeping an eye on them. Fuel taken from those. So that's not helping mindset of people, I guess, having to worry about that as well. So things like that, just given a wee bit of a challenge.
Gosh, that is tough, isn't it? I mean, what do you do if an irrigator's out on its own, basically, and you can't be watching it 24/7, can you?
I know guys are trying to get cameras and things on it, which is a deterrent. It's not anything else, but it's a bit of a help. But because the demand on those, even getting hold of those at the moment is a bit of a challenge too. But certainly guys are putting them up and around farmyards and things, just trying to help security.
So basically what you're hoping for is a good dose of good old-fashioned Canterbury sunshine to set things alight, as it were.
Yeah, we've got irrigation systems in place on a lot of the farms now, and so the drier and warmer seasons, with the help of irrigation, are really good for crop growth and crop health, and can set us up for a good harvest. So certainly the Canterbury summer rolling on would be nice now.